50 feet of shore frontage. Just by the way, that decision by your board was appealed to Superior Court, and Superior Court, as far as we know, upheld this commission's decision. A couple of the definitions that's important right now in the market that we're in: sales ratio. Every town is required to do a sales ratio study every year, which compares the prices that homes are selling for with what the community has them assessed for. And if your sales ratio falls below 90%, then you can no longer claim that you're a 100% valued municipality. And if you're not a 100% valued municipality, then the state can withhold money from towns, portions of your homestead exemption reimbursement, your state aid to education, your revenue sharing, that sort of thing. So most towns are committed to trying to keep that number near 90%. In the last few years, that has been extremely difficult for towns as the housing market has been extremely high. And so in many cases, towns are in the 80s, 70s, sometimes even 60% of value, which is why you're seeing municipalities do across-the-board valuation increases. Not going out and looking at everybody's home, but just making the assumption that land and building values are going to have to go up 10%. 12%, 15% across the board. Some folks call that a mass valuation, and that's what's been happening in most towns in Maine over the last couple of years. Just a few words on obsolescence. Functional obsolescence is calculated on the age and the condition of the property. If someone were to have a property that was certainly in disrepair and the assessment they thought was too high, they could claim functional obsolescence, and there's a program in TRIO that most assessors can use to put a percentage on that obsolescence figure to bring the value down. Economic obsolescence is really more based on the market, things that are outside the property owner's control, and that is what you'll see as being ticked up in the software. If there's a 15% increase in the valuation across the board, that will show on the TRIO software as 115% of economic obsolescence. So that's where that factors in. The other thing I think is going to be most pertinent to this case that you might hear in August is grading. So when assessors grade a property, they use an A, B, C, D scale. Those are translated to numbers as well that can be plugged into the system. It's based on a 1 to 5 type of figure, but it's confusing because some people talk in terms of 3.3, some people talk in terms of C100, C110, but basically it's just another way of saying 1 through 5 or A through E or A through F. In this particular case, I'm going to ask if the commissioners would be interested in letting me talk to the individual that's brought this case to you to see if there's something that the assessor in Emden may do to address the grading of his property, because I think if you look at the information that he has provided to you, everything kind of zeroes in on what he thinks his property is graded at. So I would be willing to talk to him about that and see if the two parties can meet an agreement on grading.
Is this something you do before we meet? I mean, between now and...
If you wanted me to, I certainly could do it in the next week or so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions on this very brief abatement tutorial?
Thank you. It's a good summary. Helps us get our minds wrapped around that.
Right.
And it was good news that we essentially won that, the Braun case.
Yes, in that case, no news is good news. So.
Yes. Item 2 is to discuss a letter of support for the Old Canada Road land acquisition.
I just got these pictures and maps from Bob Haynes with the Old Canada Road Scenic Byway. I just got them in yesterday. That's why I was able to email them out to you and make you copies of this. But this essentially is an opportunity that the town of Jackman and the Old Canada Road Scenic Byway are teaming up together to buy some properties that are currently owned by Weyerhaeuser. And these properties, if you know the area, are pretty well known. One is the scenic overlook, where there's actually a rest stop that's maintained by DOT, where you can look over the beautiful scenic vista out there. The other and that's about 72 acres altogether, because that also includes the trails that go up to Owl's Head. The other piece of property is located where the Welcome to Jackman sign is, and that's about 18 acres in that. What they propose is to do a joint application between the town of Jackman and the Scenic Byway through Land for Maine Futures, and they are hoping to be able to get funding through them that can be matched by a federal grant for scenic byways to purchase that. What they're really looking for from the commissioners is if this is something that you would be willing to sign a letter saying we support this idea. They're not coming to you asking for any money at this time.
Any information on what they would use and what people would be able to access those lands for?
So, right now, the Owl's Head Trail on the Addian Overlook already has an existing trail, already has a rest area. The Scenic Byway folks would like to improve access, especially making it more ADA accessible in that rest area. The other one is really just a scenic view right now, but they're thinking in the future that they might add some gravel there, so it could be a turnout where people could get off the road and take pictures of the scenery and so forth.
It's not our money, and, I mean, it seems like a good idea to me. I don't have any problem supporting it, but I'm just more curious than anything else is that, I mean, are they worried the Weyerhaeuser's going to clear cut it or something, or are they,
Not necessarily, in fact.
why don't they just leave it the way it is?
Well, the town of Jackman, in their letter to Weyerhaeuser, initiating this, and so far my understanding is all parties are in agreement, so there's no contention here. It's just a matter of Land for Maine Futures money. But Weyerhaeuser is a good steward of the land right now. The town of Jackman and the Scenic Byway want to ensure that whoever owns this land in the future will continue to be good stewards of it.
And this is all in Jackman.
It's all right on 201 in Jackman, yep.
I make a motion that we,
Well, there's no motions now. There is one later, though.
I get a question.
This is just a workshop.
Does this make this become a non-taxable entity now?
That's true, it would be in conservation, and that is something that I was going to ask either someone in Jackman or Bob about, to see what the impact would be. My assumption is all this is in tree growth right now,
Yeah.
so I don't know if the impact would be that severe.
just on a point of order, why can't we just vote on this now?
I think it's already in here.
I didn't add it to the regular agenda, this
not
was
on?
just a workshop, because I wanted to
Oh, I thought it was on the regular
have
agenda.
this discussion, no. I'm not quite sure what to do with agendas at this point, so.
Okay, just call me up and we'll talk about it.
Well, okay, we don't, we have to.
I don't care, we can do that.
I would make a motion that we ask our county administrator to finalize a letter of support for this worthy project, and we will sign it,
I'll
as
second.
long as it doesn't cost us any money. Don't put that in.
We have a motion from John and a second from Sip. Is there any discussion? You might want to ask Jackman if they're going to have to pay back any tree growth.
If there's a penalty with
If
that,
there's a
yeah.
penalty for that.
Yeah. Most of my correspondence has been with Bob
Yeah.
right now, but I certainly can reach out to him.
Okay. But it's a great project. We fully endorse it. Any further discussion? All in favor? And we have a letter, a rough draft of a letter that we can sign at some point. Here. I made a couple scribbles on it for you.
All right. I'll get you a fresh one.
Yeah.
You can sign. I don't think that there's not a rush on this Land for Maine Futures application at this point, but
I didn't.
I think your agreement to have a letter is good for now.
Yeah, that's great. Number 4, discuss moving the, I'm sorry, number 3, open the bids for replacing the boiler at the courthouse. We have one bid. let's see, drum roll, proposal. And the bid is from Bob's Cash Fuel. To provide and install two Energy Connect System 2000 97% efficient propane-fired condensing modulating boilers.
You say propane?
Propane. I did say that.
That discussion I had with them that day we were down there was, to be oil.
Well, he has
Because
propane
we have 3
here.
oil tanks down there.
Yeah.
I think they said they might have put 2 bids in there.
So anyway, this bid for the propane is 71,000. And then the other bid that's in here,
Yeah, I think that's what they
Is-
said they were going to do.
provide and install two Energy Connect System 2000 Frontier 87% efficient oil-fired boilers with lead lag controls. And that is for $66,406. So,
And up the chimney liners, they say,
either way, they would, if they're not lined, they would need liners anyway. I don't see it on here. There's that, you can do that.
So if I heard you correct, it was an oil burning system for 66,004,
Yes.
and the propane was 71?
As a new commissioner, can I ask the question, is it unusual just to get one bid on something like this? Is it?
you know, we sent out several, I
So
sent out
I
several.
sent out probably 50 envelopes to, I mean, I went across, I did a Google search, every fuel company,
Okay.
or, you know, in the state, and sent it out, because I know that was your concern
Well,
previously.
I'm glad to hear that, that sounds
Yeah.
really good. I wonder I guess everyone's making just too much money already, so.
And
They don't wanna-
they made
City.
an appointment, another company made an appointment, the other company didn't show up, and I called back, and they said they were too busy and weren't interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sign of a bustling economy, I guess.
Yes.
yeah.
Hey, thank you, Joe Biden.
But I did attempt to.
I have a
Good one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And item number 4 is discuss moving the public comments and public hearing before workshop on the agenda for future meetings.
Can I make a recommendation on this, that we don't vote on it until I have a conversation with them? Because we talked about remote thermostats throughout, because we have trouble with,
Okay, yep,
and he talked about chimney liners. I want to make sure that,
yep, that those are in there, sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think we're voting on that later in here.
What's the backstory on the agenda item of what you,
Well, the backstory is like last week, we moved it up so that we could accommodate the public, so they wouldn't have to be here the whole meeting before they were heard. So it's basically in the interest of the gathering public to be able to speak early, and if they want to stay, they're welcome to. If they need to leave, they are free to leave.
sounds good to me. Should we take action on this now, or just discuss it?
well, it was-
This discussion, we don't have to really take any action, we'll just do it as a consensus item.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm in support of moving that portion of the hearing to the beginning.
public comments and hearing.
Yeah. Public hearings, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be nice. The only other thing I would add to that is that perhaps because we're moving it to the front, we might allow the public to reserve the right to speak on anything that we're going to bring forward as an item, so that they might be involved in those discussions. But they can also do that ahead of time anyway, so. Okay, so we'll just do that as a matter of pro forma. New agenda items, commissioners only?
Yes, had the fire chiefs from St. Albans approach me. They are getting ready to start up a medical response service. They have 5 EMTs on their department. And they gave me some preliminary figures, but they would like to come and do a presentation to the commissioners on the second meeting in August, in the
Okay.
workshop, to show you what they're going to do. Just an overview. The cost is around $600 to $800 is what they're kind of looking to raise and get the money, and they're raising some of that, so I don't know how much will have to be. But this would be a situation where they could pre-respond to like ambulance calls or be at the scene and provide medical services for individuals while waiting for ambulances, because right now, the response time for our ambulance services are, so, and this would incorporate not just the town of St. Albans, this would incorporate all of their mutual aid towns, which are several. And I just think it would be something for us to look at and see if the funding is there for
That's a,
community benefit or TIF, because this is something I feel could filter out and figure out other towns as a way to just build that public safety piece, which is in dire need.
right,
I was just looking at calls. I have a radio and I listen to calls all the time. And the ambulances are toned out every 5 minutes for people between the ages of 65 and 90. And it just shortens the ability for them to get to all of the calls because they're short-staffed, they're short
Yeah.
vehicles. So something like this would enhance an area and cover, I think, 7 to 10, I think it is, mutual aid assistance towns where these guys can respond to medical services, in lieu of waiting for the ambulances to arrive. So,
well, we can have it on the next agenda and
Yeah,
have them
so
bring it in and
next
give us a full explanation.
but they requested, because they had to get some time to get some stuff together to do it, to have them come on the second meeting in August.
Yeah.
So that, so, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So we can make a note to have that on the workshop for the second meeting of August. And that's the St. Albans
Fire department.
Fire Department. Beautiful, thank you. Any other new agenda items?
Well, I don't know if it's an agenda item, but I want to report my efforts at education, self-education on TIF and community benefit, because I've been, we're just hearing from Scott.
I'm going to ask you just to wait for that until where it's more appropriate at our miscellaneous discussion items of the commissioners only.
Oh, this said commissioners only here, so.
Yeah, but that's a new agenda item.
Okay, fine.
It's not an agenda item.
Yeah.
As much like Scott's is an actual agenda item per se. It's just not for today, though. It's for later. And that's what this pertains about, the new
So,
agenda
okay,
items.
again, I'm learning something new every day. So, new agenda items mean, this is a commissioner would say, I would like to put on the agenda for the next meeting to follow.
Yeah, actually, for today to follow, for this meeting, but the next meeting to follow is good, too.
Okay. So if a commissioner put something new on the agenda today, it wouldn't be on the agenda until we do that, and then we could vote on it, and it would become
Right,
final action by the commissioners.
yeah.
All in one.
We would vote on putting it on the agenda,
All right. Thank you.
so. But if you don't mind waiting,
So out of my way,
Happy.
maybe by then I'll talk myself out of saying it.
okay, the minutes, Resolution 23-156, to accept the minutes of July 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion,
All right.
all in favor? Oh, excuse me?
Every other committee I've ever been on, approving the minutes is the first thing we do. And since we're talking about moving things around, I'm sort of wondering why we don't do this as the first order of business of our meeting. Is there a reason for that? I'm just asking out of curiosity.
It is the first order of actual business on the agenda, though, if you look at it.
Well, it's 21 minutes into our meeting, so it's not really the first. I know. it's not-
Because of our talkative commissioners.
I'm just suggesting,
Yeah, we could do that, too. Move it right up till after the call of order.
Yeah, it should be right after the pledge.
Right after the call of order.
Call the order, yeah.
We can do that next time around, if all is happy.
Do we vote on this? I'm in favor of adopting it.
I don't think we have to.
We just didn't do it. It's just a matter of protocol. We'll just do that. It's the agenda.
Approved by unanimous consent.
There you go.
But, yeah.
Okay, all in favor of the minutes as presented?
I'll abstain.
Fair enough.
As you should, because you were not here.
Except for you.
Yeah, I know.
You are sharp today. You're taking your vitamins.
Finance reporting. Patrick?
Year's almost closed. We got another month of entries coming in, but the figures are pretty well finalized. The general fund came in favorable, a little over $1 million, which is what we expected. The jail was a little over $400,000, what we expected. UT is currently at a little over $100,000. So all together, about 1.7.
Any questions for Patrick? Administrator report.
Start with my standard joke, it's getting old though. 8 days on the job, I know how to make coffee, and I know where the bathroom is. But, other than that, see, it gets the same reaction no matter how many times I say it.
And as long as you don't remember where you parked the car.
That's true. I'm pleased to say that everyone has been very welcoming and helpful. I want to give special thanks to Leanne and special thanks to Pavel, as I've called him every day. But as you know, we have done some work to make sure we get as many people aware of the Somerset caucus that's taking place at 6 o'clock tonight. And that's been a good exercise in making sure all of our contact information for all the towns, plantations are up to date and accurate. I've signed back up for the Maine Town and City Managers Association. I'm on the county administrator's email. I've attended a few Zoom conferences with the Maine County Commissioners Association and followed their legislative policy work. MCCA is trying to craft some submissions for the supplemental budget on behalf of jail funding. And so after that, I met with Patrick, the sheriff, the chief, Administrator Pike from the jail, and we had a good conversation of what information we need to get to MCCA so that they can craft some legislation for the supplemental budget. Christian has an SEDC board meeting tomorrow. I'm on that board from my time as the manager in Madison. I would like to stay involved with SEDC, but I don't think I should have a voting place on that particular board. I didn't know what the thought.
Joel is our representative to the board.
So Joel's on that board. Okay. Can I still attend meetings?
Of course.
Okay.
I believe they're
That's
public
really-
meetings.
I just want to stay informed.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think that Joel would inform me.
Keep an eye on me.
I just- We'll do it mutually. I have started gathering some information on the county charter. Somerset's one of 5 counties that have charters. Knox County has started a process of reviewing their charter. They did so earlier this spring, just pulling people together. So I'm planning to reach out to Knox County to see what they are finding in this process, and maybe we can learn from that. Nelson and I check in every day on the status of the building and so forth. And just so everybody is aware, I've sent out some emails. Tomorrow is the walk-through sprinkler test. So 4 floors worth of sprinklers. Everybody's office has got to be accessible so we can get in there. I use the term "we" loosely. So Nelson can get in there and with a stepladder, allow them to inspect the sprinklers. And the biggest thing is multiple fire alarm tests. So you're going to hear, if you're in the building, you're going to hear that fire alarm go off a good part of the day tomorrow. So just be aware of that. So that's all I have.
Good. Thank you. And department heads. Sheriff?
We had, patrol had 592 calls for service last week. We did sign the contract from, as a result of our last conversations, a contract with the feds to continue with the boarding federal inmates. That's moving forward. And as as the county administrator already articulated, we're working together, the MSA, MCCA, the governor did not put additional funding in for the jail, so we're going to be working toward the supplemental.
Michael?
Also,
Okay. And Michael Smith?
just a quick review of the Kennebec County towns. All of the landlines, all 16 of the towns have been moved to their new designated PSAP. I just got word today, actually the Verizon, T-Mobile, and the AT&T have all been moved for the Winthrop towns. AT&T and Verizon, AT&T was doing their drive testing today for Waterville, those should be moved off from us hopefully by the end of the day today. So it is progressing. The only thing that's holding it up is US 7 today, I believe, responding to the request from the state to make the changes. So, but I can tell you that it's actually slowed down a lot. First 18 days a month, we average 350 calls for service a day and 133 911 calls. So we're not really seeing a huge relief yet. I think it's just summertime in Somerset County and all of those happening, but it definitely is steady. On the EMA side, had a meeting last week that Commissioner Cezak, Dave, Tammy, and I were at, which I know was, I believe, discussed maybe at the last meeting briefly in reference to the April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse. I think it was eye-opening, some of the information that we discussed, some of the things that were determined. I think Commissioner Cezak, I think your comment was, I came in thinking you might get 5,000, and now I think you're closer to 30,000.
Yes,
So,
yes.
it was a good meeting, and most of the players were at the table, so hopefully it progresses. And I would rather come to you in May of next year and say, hey, we overplanned, we didn't need half what we had, to come to you and say, oh, but, so I just think we're working in the right direction. Last Thursday, I spent the day in Augusta for an exercise that FEMA sponsored. It was actually a training derailment in Jackman. Coincidentally, we just did that 3 months ago. That they had been planning for a year. The only difference was it had a terrorist attachment to it. 55 people in the room, and went very well, and we actually brought a lot away from it. Working on the FY23 EMPG's grant application right now. Still waiting for Homeland Security grant announcement, which has not come from the Fed yet. And lastly, I know probably everybody's starting to do, but I just wanted to cover it. The May Day storm disaster declaration request has been approved by the President. So that puts about $1.4 million of damage that happened in Somerset County on the block to be reimbursed. So
Wonderful. That's good. Anything else? All set?
thank you.
All right. Good. Pavel?
So we're working on still like multiple IT projects for like access points for whole county, networking upgrades for the camera system. So for the cybersecurity, I'm going to purchase the application that we will be able to do internal scannings of our network and workstations, so that it will give us better picture and the status of our internal equipment. And in regards to the fiber connectivity between two sites to complete that loop, I'm still waiting for one more quote to kind of give you the overview of that project. So I should have it ready for the next meeting.
Okay, how's our website coming?
So yeah, website, we have the funds allocated, so the meeting should be within probably 2 weeks, the first initial meeting.
Okay.
Let's get a confirmation from Nancy, so that's now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right. Dave?
Right now, I'm trying to finish up the street sign inventory. I was going to finish it last week and wound up cutting down a tire on my truck. So I was going to go out tomorrow, the next day, and my tire was flat again this morning, so I took it back to the garage to get it patched again. And they said it will hold up, so I'm headed on the road tomorrow. I'll be up on the Golden Road checking my most northern E911 street signs. So that's what I'm doing.
Good, thank you. Let's see, no unfinished business. New business, Resolution 23-157, to approve the hire of Brock Frederick as part-time correction officer for Somerset County Jail and as part-time deputy for the Somerset County Sheriff's Department.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? And this is the gentleman we spoke about? Yeah, okay, thank you. Resolution 23-158 to designate County Administrator Curtis as the proxy member to represent the county on the Board of Directors of the Maine County Commissioners Association in the absence of a county commissioner.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Resolution 23-159 to approve the annual equitable sharing agreement and certification for the Somerset County Sheriff's Office.
Second.
Discussion?
Explanation?
Do you want to explain what that is?
So it's a federal drug account, it's an audit by them to make sure that we're doing, there are certain regulations or standards that you have to abide by to spend that seized money. And there's an audit every year, and you'll get this every year that we complete the audit.
Is this part of this, the confiscation?
Yeah, like the federal.
Yeah.
So there's the state and that we have.
Yeah.
And then with the federal. But with the federal, this is an audit.
Okay. That was the difference I was looking for. Thank you. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor? Let's go. Capital Reserve expenditures, Resolution 23-160 to approve the expenditure of $16,063.49 for the installation of new wireless access points at the county courthouse.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? No opposed? Good. Unorganized Territory, Resolution 23-161 to approve the Concord and Mayfield Cemetery Care Contract.
Second.
Discussion? Contract is in our folder.
So did that go out to bid as well? I mean, for that, or no?
Dave, the contract, did that go out to bid?
Say that, please.
Did that go out for bid?
Originally, it did, but then it got handed from one person when he quit. We found another replacement.
Right, so it's continuing.
It was another one bid came in, and they're getting more and more difficult to find them up
There's
there.
a lot of very small cemeteries, and they're 20 miles apart, basically, so it wasn't a high demand of people running out to get the job.
Right.
If I remember reading right, it's around $6,000.
Yeah.
Is that what we're,
Something like that.
yeah.
This does not include, like, whatever they do to the headstones to make them all gleam at night.
No, this is maintaining the grounds, mowing, trimming, any kind of repair work on fences and things like that.
And is the 3-year contract sort of the standard that we're operating under?
Yeah, I think that.
Was there much difference between this contract and the old contract as far as
This
cost?
contract has a $250 increase for each year of the contract. Pretty small compared.
Barely covers gas.
Yeah, just for the machines.
We should go electric. Let's put solar panels on them.
There you go. All in favor? Okay. Resolution 23-162 to approve the fire protection agreement between the town of New Portland and the Somerset County Commissioners.
So move.
There's a second.
I'll second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Well, I just haven't seen this before, just like a short explanation of what we're doing. It looks like we make an agreement with the town to,
Yeah.
they put out fires in the unorganized territories.
In specific townships, yes.
It's a mutual aid
We
agreement.
have several different contracts that apply to fire departments within towns responding to nearby unorganized territory.
That's what I thought.
We have Jackman, we have West Forks, Bingham, and Newport.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, it's a go, thank you. Resolution 23-163, to approve closing of ATV traffic to non-Jackson Pond Road residents and to have that section of trail removed from the ATV map.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Seeing none?
Public comment?
Yes, please
First of all,
do.
I apologize for not making 2 weeks ago. I didn't realize you folks met every 2 weeks, so my sincerest apologies to the commissioners. Just as an update for you, as the trail master of that ATV club, I have removed the arrow from the intersection to try to eliminate some traffic heading down that way. I don't know if there's been an improvement or not. But I had heard that there was a meeting 2 weeks ago from somebody that called me and reached out and brought it to my attention. They were concerned it was going to be closed. So it sounds like same thing we were talking about a month ago, it's just for localized folks.
Great.
Lastly, and maybe it's not the right time to do this, I wanted to also readdress you, well, I've been asked to look into the corridor power line as it related to the
Oh,
bridge
yeah.
access. Is now the appropriate time for?
This is as good as any while you're up and we're here.
Okay, sure. So I did speak with some representatives from Central Maine Power. They had two concerns. One is the grade of the power line directly across from the bridge. And actually, I guess three. The grade of the power line, the steepness, that they're worried there's a safety issue there. On the north side of Fletcher Road, there's a pretty substantial low spot, a wet spot there that they don't think is necessarily the greatest spot, or they didn't say no to that either. Their third concern was that we would be passing over an aquifer, because with the assumption that we would be accessing that power line from the Jackson Pond Road to make that happen. And then, of course, that becomes counterproductive to what we're talking about in terms of limiting traffic on the Jackson Pond Road. I just wanted to follow up with you that I did do that work. I'm still interested in having discussions about the uses of the bridge as a temporary purpose. And the young lady who reached out to me last week informed me that I did in fact miss the meeting, said that maybe there was a discussion about what temporary use of that meant. I'm happy to address that if that is in fact the case.
You may proceed.
So currently, the bridge that we were originally here that was out, that we were looking for that temporary access across the Bingham Bridge to solve
Right.
the problem, that has been repaired.
Yep.
We opened the trail, we got about a week out of it. The state of Maine did their first ATV inspection and provided me with a 29-page report of that inspection, of particularly that section. And there was another piece further up that they said I needed to shut down temporarily until repairs can be made. So, the one, due to water damage, due to all the high water. So I'm kind of back in that same boat again. That whole thing is closed and with no access without being able to use the bridge. I did meet with Brian Johnson from the state. We did come up with a plan of action. It's going to be several weeks before we can get it complete. So I guess I'm here to readdress the possibility that we use that bridge temporarily. And again, my hope in temporary was in a situation just like this, the same kind of thing. And this is something, I attack problems when they happen, but I don't own the excavator and, the truck and trailer and everything else. Some of it's out of my control. So what my hope is that in a situation like this, that rather than, the loss of time between coming to and getting approvals, that we might be able to just open that for, let's say it's 3 weeks before we get that repair done, to utilize the Bingham Bridge and the access up to Pleasant Bridge in that regard until the repair is complete. Once the repair is complete, I would then like to take down any signage put up and go back to a no ATV trail closed style access. If that's
I don't think we're going to open up that road to ATV. It's very dangerous. But we'd have to put that on the agenda for next time and address it then. But just to give you a fair assessment, it probably will not happen.
And next time, meeting in 2 weeks. correct?
Yeah. No, you have plenty of time to fix it.
I'm sorry.
You have 2 weeks to fix it. Joel?
Couple of questions on the research that you've done on the corridor, power line, possibility at this point in time. So the steep grade, they identified the steep grade as a concern to them. Who makes the final decision? Would it be the state? Does the state define what, if a grade is too steep to be safe or not? How does that work?
I would assume that would be Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay, state Maine, okay. And the wet spot, is it so large that something can't be built to prevent the rutting and all that other source? I mean, I've seen it a million times, so is that?
I believe it is. I would say estimate-wise, it's probably the length of this room.
Okay, yep.
The drop in elevation, from where it comes down and then comes back up, I'm gonna guess 25, 30 feet.
Okay, so that's minor. And then the aquifer question, I guess I don't really understand what the negative is in that particular piece.
Again, just something that was discussed with me from a representative of Central Maine Power, that was, they didn't see where anybody would want, whether it's Department of Environmental Protection or them themselves, for us to travel over the aquifer that does provide water to the town of Maine.
So in your experience, in your professional estimation, is it something that you're of interest to continue to pursue to help solve the issue that we have up there?
I would. My next concern then, I guess, would be we would have to readdress this issue of the Jackson Pond Road, because then to my estimation, that's how we're gonna get access to that corridor, that power line. Because the landowners, across from the bridge, south of the bridge, I don't think I'm gonna get access into it from that point. At which point, the only other alternative would be, at the very least, go up around that S-turn to get to the Fletcher Road, to then get to the whole spot.
So we could be solving one problem but creating another.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would like to support my neighbor's letter that you folks have from the Yellow Farm, indicating the preference to have Jackson Pond Road for residents only on the ATV trail. And I would also add in that it would be preferable to have larger signs of prohibition of the ATVs, and possibly the installation of a $500 fine on that sign in conjunction with the Maine Chapter 939 for a violation fine. My understanding is we'll put the other issue off for another 2 weeks.
The bridge, yeah.
Just a question, we don't do the signs.
We don't do the signs, we don't do the fines either, so.
I'm all in favor of big signs, but that's not we don't do signs.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but if the sign could have that on the sign where it says prohibited, could it also?
I would just redirect you to whatever entity it is that puts the signs up. I don't know if that's the Department of Conservation or the ATV clubs, or who does the signs? Can you answer that?
I can try, because I have a question related to that as well. When I was last here, Sheriff Lancaster mentioned that in Rockwood, they had provided signs for the resident access. So I'm curious if we're talking about the same sign, or if we're talking about additional signs. To answer your question directly, yes, we usually do put all the signage up as the ATV club, me more specific.
Well, I intend to vote in favor of making the Jackson Pond Road for local residents only, and with the understanding that there will be very obvious signs at the other end of it to discourage anybody from coming down, who's not a local resident, from coming down to Route 16 in violation of our edict. And sounds like that's what we're going to try to do. Right?
But the the resolution is, to close the job,
I can also say, I mean, I would need to bring it to my club, of course, but speaking on behalf of the club, I would think our members would have no issue honoring his request. We would be happy to pay for a sign to be built, with some appropriate language that would make the residents happy, and I'd be happy to install.
thank you.
So my question would be, so on the legal side of things, under whose jurisdiction is that? Who actually sets the fine limit? Who,
I think it's part of Title 12, just inland fisheries and wildlife.
I think it's-
If you violate an ATV law, you go to court and pay a fine.
Yeah.
And that would be a violation of the law to run an ATV on a non-approved road.
My question about that is that manpower is not available to enforce that and be there to enforce it. So I'm wondering if surveillance cameras that can pick up the plates on these and identify would be
that would be up
a
to
good
law
addition.
enforcement.
I don't think
Not our purview, that's law enforcement.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna blow right by those signs, don't care how big they are.
Well, I think we should
So,
trust
Hopefully
our
it's a
fellow
deterrent.
men and women
Hopefully it's a
to obey the law. I think that's where we have to start. And
They don't do it in our
if that
town,
doesn't
so.
work, we'll take the next step. But
It is same.
Just to piggyback on the law enforcement, another update for the commission. I am happy to report, I use this term very loosely. I am happy to report, I have had discussions with one officer, one sheriff's department officer that lives locally in Bingham, who has assured me that with whatever is within her power and jurisdiction, she is going to start working with me on improving said issues in the town of Bingham. I'm very happy to report that in the sense that I've seen it in Greenville, it worked very well for them, and we have never had that. So I am excited about that. I don't know if her limits allow her on that side of the river. I'll say that. I know that one of her things, and she's already started, is she is enforcing specifically from where the railroad trestle crosses at the south end of Bingham to, I believe it's Taylor Avenue, which is where the hardware store is. That section is closed. There's not supposed to be anybody in there. But I'm sure you can imagine with our rental business, the rafting company across the street, the gas station, the grocery store, and the motel, there is a lot of traffic that doesn't obey the law and ignores the signs. I have witnessed her personally stopping folks at least one time at this point. I don't know whether they were summoned or not, but I know that she is actively trying to help us do the best.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion, sir?
I would add in, speaking of the fines, that's already established law in Maine. It's under Maine statute,
Right.
chapter 939, which reads, violation, ATV violation, is not less than 100 or more than 500.
Okay, thank you. So, without any further discussion, all in favor? Okay, let's go. And warrants, Resolution 23-164 to approve the treasurer's warrants for the general fund, Somerset County Jail, and unorganized territory in the amounts of general fund for FY23, $75,714.38. FY24, $27,957. Somerset County Jail, FY23, $6,894.56. FY24, $9,867.64. For the UT, for FY23, $93,308.74. FY24, $69,531.58. TIF tax revenue for FY23, $15,028.87. FY24, $16,000. For the TIF community benefit, FY23, $2,905.50. ARP, zero. Total FY23, $193,852.05. FY24, $123,299.82, for a total of FY '23 and FY '24, $317,151.87.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Miscellaneous discussion items, Commissioner I only. John?
Oh, well, yeah, what was I going to say?
No, I forgot, good, next.
Joel?
Now I'm going to talk for a long time. No, I just, ever since the nice lady from Bingham came in and asked for money for the gym, I've been sort of puzzling over the procedure by which we make these grants, and I've learned more about how the TIF works, and I've spoken to Dave, who's very helpful, and Christian, and Tim, and it just seems to me that we ought to kind of work on sort of revitalizing our program by, first of all, sort of reestablishing, I guess there's a board that hasn't met in 4 years, and they have a telephone tree or an email, and there's no indication on the website about what these programs are, what kind of money is available. It's kind of by guess or by golly, and there don't seem to be any criteria that is enunciated or set forth on the website or anywhere else to say how we judge these requests. And it just seems to me that we as a board should try to, what I would suggest is once we get our revitalized website on, that we actually, I hate to use the word advertise, but at least let it be known that money is available for worthy public projects in the community, both for the UT under TIF and for community benefit under community benefit. And how you go about applying for this money, and the standards which are applied to decide whether you get it or not. I've been involved in boards in the past where we actually do this. It's a helpful procedure. And I think we should have a revitalized committee, which represents not only the UT and the towns that are close to the UT, but also southern parts of the county that would benefit from community benefit grants. And that these people would actually meet on a regular basis and make recommendations to us as a board, so that we don't sit here and all of a sudden somebody comes in and really for the first time, we are vetting the proposal, including, the gym in Bingham or an ambulance service in St. Albans. I mean, it seems to me it's not too much to ask that we have a active committee, and I know they do this in other areas, Skowhegan being one, which actually would say, we reviewed this, they've met our standards, we have this application, we give this a positive vote, we're in favor of it. That would go a long way to making at least me feel as a commissioner that I'm acting in a rational way and making an intelligent decision about how to spend this money, which we should spend. It's there to be spent. And for that matter, I think we should have clearly enunciate our budget of how much money we have to spend each year. And at the end of the year, I think, I'm not looking for a glossy annual report with photographs, but it would be helpful to know, for us and the public, how we have spent this money and why we're doing what we're doing. I think we need to kind of get it going. And I think right now it's kind of moribund. And so that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Well said.
Thank you.
Very well said.
And I gather you're on the committee because we have two.
The one that hasn't met for 4 years?
Yeah, you're on that.
Those are my kind of committees right there.
And so are you.
Yeah, some defined parameters would be,
Yeah, I think we need to establish a new committee with terms, and try to reach out in the community and get and I'd be glad to volunteer and help, although I don't represent the UT, at least in my district, but I'd be glad to help out. I think something needs to be done.
But you do represent the community benefit.
Right.
You do represent the community benefit.
Well, I do, and that's that's an interesting, Barbara. So, that's what I have to say.
My quick discussion is just my apologies for running late today.
Oh, thank you. We're glad to see you here, that you made it, you're all right. And you look sharp.
Thank you.
Scott? Okay. And I had
Mr. Chairman.
something under that, too. I wrote a note and I set it aside. It is,
I think you had wrote a note to me to remind you
yes,
that you wanted to discuss some of the clarification that we received from the Secretary of State's office regarding the caucus tonight.
yes, and here it is. I scribbled it down. To discuss the length of the term for the Register of Deeds as informed by the Deputy Secretary of State. Oh, yes, please.
So this caucus is a foreign concept to many of us, and so it has produced a lot of questions. It is a gathering that's been given the date, time, and place by the commissioners. We anticipate from my emails that there will be several people participating by Zoom. So I've had Pavel make sure that he's here to make sure that works, so people can hear and vote. We do expect some people to be here in person as well. We've had a discussion in regards to one town, one vote, because it is a caucus of municipal officers, but there's nothing that clarifies that in our charter. So I'm saying that common sense would prevail, that if a number of people that are elected come from one municipality, their vote would be one vote, as opposed to 5 from one, as opposed to 1 from another. That just seems to be the cleanest way to do it. And then there was the question in regards to, if the caucus does choose to appoint someone as Registry of Deeds, how long is that appointment? And that's what we get clarification from the Secretary of State's office. They're going to hold to the county elections in even-numbered years. So this appointment would be through the November 2024 election.
Well, not through the election, but through that year.
Pardon me?
It would be through the year. It would end on 12/31.
End of December.
The appointment would, right, and whomever was elected, if there was a prevailing election in 2024, that person would take the job in January
Yes.
25.
Right.
Right. So I just wanted to make sure that,
But let him finish.
Well, if the ballot measure passes,
correct.
then this appointment just goes to the effective date of the ballot measure. We don't have to wait till January 1st, 2025.
That's the other complication that I've tried to clarify with the caucus members as they're attending, because many of these caucus members are unaware that you've made a decision to put the appointed to elected question on the ballot in '23. So, yes, it seems to be that the appointment tonight would be made till the next Somerset County election.
Right.
24. However, in '23, in November, you have a question on the ballot to change it from elected to appointed. If that prevails in '23, then the appointment of that person as Registry of Deeds falls back to you as commissioners.
So just to make sure, we're really clear on this.
I don't know, that's pretty.
Even if it passes and we no longer have, whoever's in that position is not going to say, it's not going to be heard to say, I can keep doing this until January 1st, 2025.
So,
Because we can say to him or her, no,
to
you're done.
that effect, and I don't know if the charter allows for this, perhaps the language that you put to the ballot should say, to take effect.
And I do not know whether it does.
Right now, it doesn't.
All right, well, we should
It needs to,
Yeah, I don't see where those of us as commissioners or any elected official can actually supersede what the voters have already said. I mean, the voters, when they, or this process, it's going to be until the next election, and then, I mean, you could just say, I mean, let's say, for instance, as commissioners, we don't agree with the decision made tonight, so all of a sudden, which is not the case, but all of a sudden, we decide, you know what, we're going to change the rules in the middle of the game and actually appoint somebody before the end of the term that the voters put in
Well,
place.
I disagree with you. What I think, if our ballot measure says that henceforward after effective January 1st, 2024, Register of Deeds shall be appointed, to me, that's the end of the term of the pro tem appointee that will, going to happen tonight or sometime thereafter.
so.
Agreed. If you put it to the voters with the language that says, your vote is going to do this, it's going to, change basically what the caucus did tonight, starting at this point, the voter, I believe the voters would be able to do that.
Okay, and so,
Not us, but the
to
voters.
that end, I hope it's not too late to ask the Secretary of State to put an effective date on our ballot measure.
No, it's not.
Well, it's not too late, and two, I think that the end date is actually set in statute, that it has to be the end of the original term for the appointed person to take place, irrespective of this interim appointment, that the term lasts until December 31, 2024, and that should be on the ballot, so all the voters know that. But I think you'll find...
So you don't think we can
in state-
shorten it up?
No, I think in state law, it already...
What state law are you referring to?
It's in there somewhere, you can find it. You're a lawyer.
I would think it would be a good idea for us to ask the Attorney General's office
Yes,
to,
verify that.
right, to go over exactly what we're talking about. And
That's not when, Laura's term would have been for 3.5 more years.
It wouldn't be 2024, it'd be what? 20...
She just got elected, and she was only in for a half a
Right,
year.
right,
Right.
3.5 more years left in that term,
3.5 more
correct,
years left in her term.
correct.
Right,
Right.
Yeah.
but I think that's how it's set, it is.
Obviously, if the head legal
That's
official in the
state
state does not
statute.
agree with
Right.
what we want to do, then we probably shouldn't.
Well, I guess we ought to ask Julie Flynn or whoever is down there that calls the shots on these things. Because I think, am I right on this? The sense of the board is that we would like to have, if successful, an appointed head of the department effective as soon as possible after the election, assuming that the election, the ballot measure prevails. Is that, we all agree to that?
I would say, yeah, but I mean, it has to be effective January 2024, correct?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to ask.
Well, within that,
We're going to ask, that's the question we're going to ask.
That's the
I mean,
question
can we
we
move
need
it
to
up or
ask,
not?
yes, that's...
That's what we want. And so we want to ask Julie Flynn if we can do that, I guess. Can you do that? That's
Right.
what-
And then that, whatever that decision is and that date is, it has to be on that ballot.
Yeah, we
For
are.
the voters
Yeah.
to
You got
read,
that?
understand, and approve.
Sort of. So, if I'm following this correctly, we're going to advise the caucus to make an appointment based on what Julie Flynn said through the next Somerset County election in 2024. And then change the wording on the referendum to allow the voters to change what the caucus did. And make if the voters do choose to make it appointed, it would be effective January of '24. If the voters don't choose to change it from elected to appointed, then this appointment that the caucus makes would be through January 2025 with an election in 2024 of November.
Well, actually, I think what we need to do is look at the charter where it says...
Yeah, I've already read it. It's
If a
very-
majority of those voting on this question vote in the affirmative, the position of the elected official shall be terminated upon expiration of the current term of that elected official. And that current term would be in 3.5 years. So, and the Board of Commissioners shall
Under the
appoint
current
the
charter.
necessary official, according to our
If we
charter.
had just done what we had talked about doing, we wouldn't be running through this.
Right. We're,
And you have an interim deed or interim town manager or administrator.
I know, I'm just following the law, the language of the charter.
All right.
Well, we gotta do what the law says, I'm just a little curious about what it is.
So that's where I found it here,
Yeah.
is in the charter.
It's on page 9 of the charter.
Page 9.
Yeah.
So the appointment would end, this appointment would end at the end of the current term, should the,
The expiration of the current term.
except for the fact that the election, there needs to be an election to take, if the referendum fails, then there does need to be an election
In November of 20.
in November of 2024.
That's what the Secretary of State's office says.
Yeah,
So when you read the charter about changing from elected to appointed, it's written with the assumption that that elected person is still there.
Right, not an interim.
Now we've thrown the mix
Yeah.
of the vacancy in there. If you want my opinion, I do believe that the charter does have the option of waiting and not making an appointment tonight to see what the result of the November 23 election is, or the referendum is.
Where's that language that you feel that that's what it says?
We don't have to decide that.
I would say that once the caucus meets tonight, they can determine their own rules and their own decisions. And one of those decisions could be to not appoint someone tonight. Based on.
They could set a date on when they want to appoint.
They could do that, right?
Because we have in office a duly authorized deputy register.
Correct.
Right. Long experience.
well, my concern with that is that if something happened to our duly authorized deputy between now and then, we would have no official person, and would essentially have to close down the office from the time that we got an official register of deeds, because you have nobody legally available to sign those papers.
Well, that would be an unfortunate eventuality. I doubt the world would come to an end, and we could address that problem when it arises pursuant to our charter.
The war would come to an end, but remember there's a recall position in here.
Yes, well, let's look at over our shoulder. Well,
Anyway,
I guess we haven't gotten a lot of clarity on that point.
We should really
We need to-
clarify the point that we're going to make to the caucus.
right,
They're already probably confused enough, so.
well, that's why we're discussing this now, so.
And that's why I said what I said, because there's a lot of,
Well, it's a very,
needs to be clarified, yeah.
it's sort of a weird procedure. We don't really say, we're only there because we represent the UT. Otherwise, we're out of it. We don't veto what they do.
Right.
But I would say that the caucus, they should just appoint the person until December 31st, 2024. Because if the election, if the resolution, the referendum passes, then we're in a different plane, but if the resolution fails, then they still has to go to election anyway.
But if they appoint that person to just that time and the election's not until November, do we have a vacancy? Or does that person stay through?
No, then we make the appointment.
Only if that resolution passes.
Right, but if the resolution doesn't pass,
Then there's
the
another
person
caucus.
is automatically actually instated until December 31st, 2024.
Okay.
So, according to the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
But there is an election in between where signatures are gathered and then placed in the ballot for November of 2024.
So So the other point is that you brought up as far as, if we only have a deputy, we don't have a backup in case something happens there, is the caucus process can be rather quick. So, in that situation, you basically call another caucus and appoint somebody else.
We have to have time to do that, though, it'd be a few weeks. If you wanted to
Yeah, it's
cancel
not-
this
yeah, it's
caucus.
not-
It'd be up to the
it's not
caucus
months.
to determine what they want to do.
We just have to have good clarity as to what we want
But
them to do.
are you suggesting that we can ask the caucus to just appoint someone for a?
The caucus automatically appoints a person for the interim to the next
To
election.
the next even number?
Yeah,
Right.
that's all they're doing.
Yeah. But you're not saying we can ask them to appoint someone to the next odd number, till just to the end of this year?
Right, no.
Well, as I'm fond of saying, let's jump off that bridge when we get to it.
I think that if the resolution, if the referendum passes, then at such time that it passes, that's when we need to assess what we do with that position.
Well, things may be going so smoothly that we're perfectly happy with the
So
status quo.
that's the plan.
Yeah. And that would just make it academic about when,
Right.
whether a person is elected or appointed.
Right.
But that may not be the case.
Might be the case, might not be the case. We have to see.
Well, in any event, I think we should have a specific date on our ballot measure,
Yes.
no matter what.
Definitely in effect.
But we have to make sure that that follows muster with
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, gotta get
with
those.
what our charter says and to what's happening here with this new wrinkle. Like you said, this is injected into term of events. I think that the Secretary of State and the Attorney General can give us guidance on that.
Yep.
And if we don't like it, we can appeal it to the Supreme Court. Any further discussion on this?
Who's coming tonight? You coming tonight?
I'll be here.
Yeah.
Does somebody from the UT want to be here and do the actual voting, or you want to leave it to me?
I'm planning on being here.
You're planning on being
I'm
here?
going to be here.
Okay. You're going to be here.
Yeah.
You weren't, but
Planning
you...
on it.
Yeah, okay. You were going to play. I thought we were all going to be here anyway, so...
Yeah, you don't show up, we're gonna let you something, so.
Yeah, so I guess the thing is I'll let, as far as I'm concerned, the county gets one vote because of the UT, and I'll let you guys find out who wants to be the actual voter.
I've seen you fight.
You could argue.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be fair, you had a heart attack recently, so.
You could argue you both vote, because you represent some UT and he represents our UT.
Well, I mean, if we wanna go who's bigger and who's not, then,
I guess.
Well, it's one UT, we just have...
But actually, I think collectively, we all vote as one.
We do.
I mean,
I vote District 2.
They have a spokesman for that, though.
I don't think you're a designated municipal officer of the UT. I think we all are.
Yeah, we all are.
Right.
If I may,
Sorry, Tim.
if I may, you may want to settle this now before the caucus,
Right.
because we would want to offer advice to the other municipalities. Let's say a municipality shows up with 3 members.
Right.
They're going to have to decide by majority vote what way they're going to vote,
Right.
just like you will.
right.
So if you're going to do a majority vote of the 5 and you all plan to be here, then that's one vote.
Right.
Well, do you think they'll, I'm just thinking of the budget committee. Should we, I mean, is it fair to say that our chairman is ex officio the chairman is running the show here? And, I mean, it seems to me, it might be, we might, I'm just guessing, but we might be at a point where some town shows up and says, there's three of us and we got 3 votes, that's the way we see it, and we all plan on voting for this, so don't be telling us something else. Somebody, I think we all agree, if it's one town, one vote, somebody has to say to them, and that's not the way it's going to be. We, as 5 county commissioners, we're getting 1 vote for the UT, and you, as 3 members of the town of East Overshoe,
Right.
you get 1 vote too. Somebody's going to have to say that, and maybe you're the man. But I mean, someone's got to call the balls and strikes on this, if it's going to be.
Right, because you could have a rather low-populated town that decides they want 5 selectmen, and then a rather large town has 3 selectmen. They get 5 votes, you get 3, it just makes no sense.
Yeah,
It's got to be per municipality, even though, you know, it actually does hurt the larger populations, but, I mean, there's no other way of doing it.
Wouldn't that responsibility fall on the elected chair for the caucus, because there is a chair elected to run the caucus at that time?
Well, is there? I mean, there is on the budget committee.
On the agenda for this meeting tonight, the first order of business is for the municipal officers amongst themselves to elect a chair to run the meeting.
Right.
And then it would be up to that chair, whether the public comments, it would be up to that chair, 1 vote, 1 town, it would be up to that chair because it's their meeting.
And we, as commissioners, voting as 1, can nominate a person to do that. Okay.
Or if the chair says it's a free-for-all, we each get a vote.
Yeah, which is good, because we have a lot of votes.
Votes.
All right, no kidding.
Anyway,
Commissioners, we can do anything. That's what I was told. By a lawyer.
you're learning,
It's gotta be right.
Okay.
Where are we at?
Does anybody have a burning desire to be the designated hitter voter for our commission?
Designated what?
Voter at the caucus tonight. I mean, I don't mind.
I would say as long as that voter casts the vote that the majority of us
Right.
Yeah, we have a mini caucus. And
happens all the time in government, it works great.
I'll volunteer, but I don't, I mean.
I will vote on it, read it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't mind doing it as chair, if you want to do it that way, or
Yeah.
I don't mind seeing a UT person doing it either.
Right. And I would support you being the chair of the caucus and running a smooth meeting. You have some experience doing that, I heard.
But that vote comes from
The rumor.
That vote comes from the entirety of caucus attendees, so. in terms
Correct,
of elected
correct,
chair, right?
correct,
Yeah.
right.
Now,
Which we would get 1 vote for that position.
Now, again, I don't know how many people are showing up for how many towns, but everyone that's here can, I guess that would be up to the chair, whether they can speak or not. So if you have 3 people from East Overshoe and they all want to say something, they don't have a chance to say it. Likewise, the county, we could all, be
Yeah.
there, we can speak.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would think that we would be
Just
as
when it comes to voting, it's
small d Democrat as possible.
okay.
Next.
I'll see you guys at 7.
6.
6.
5:30 for you.
7:30 for you. All right. Okay. So,
Where are we at?
moving on to public hearing, done, public comments, I think, any public comments, by the way? No, seeing none, okay, executive session. Before we go into executive session, a 5-minute break.
No, I understand what I'm. Let's see what they say. Okay. We can do that. I don't know,
Start signing.
No.
We'll burn that bridge.
Okay.
You gonna cross and burn it? What am I gonna do with this bridge? Jump off
Just burning it. Hey, get signatures.
That's what I'm working on, I'm getting one.
Get signatures. Just one, right? I think only one thing needs a signature, Robert.
That's,
And then the warrants. Warrants.
there's the contract for the cemeteries, there's.
Oh, yeah. Signatures. Signatures. Signatures.
You gonna go to the door and get my pen?
Yeah, get your pen.
Did you want
didn't
both
bring
of
one.
these? Actually, why don't
You
we,
usually have a nice one.
photocopy?
Because I almost want to steal it. But I put it always back in your book when you have it.
Okay, so we're,
Well, Dave's disappeared, so he'll come get it. Yeah, those Dave's.
I get he did.
If you want to do that back to Tim, but I'm going to come down in the morning anyway.
oh, okay.
My vote is. And I want to get my I want to use it on this.
There's no shame. You're on.
Do we have Brock's? Leanne, Sheriff, do we have Brock's thing to sign?
Do we have what?
Brock's paperwork for,
No, there's nothing to sign there. You just, you appointed him.
okay,
Yeah, yep. That wasn't a commission.
okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing to sign on the vote to close that road, the ATV traffic.
No. No, I don't think so.
That one just requires one signature. That's the sheriff's.
Oh, this is that.
You want to take this and copy that, I mean, anytime in the morning, I'll come down and get it. You don't have to do it.
I don't,
I have no idea.
I know, but.
That's a good thing, right? And she loves, she's
But
always.
if it doesn't, that doesn't go well, and something happens here and it goes out for advertisement.
For that kind of money we
You
can
never
get
know.
with PM.
She's been in that wall.
So, do you want me
She's
to,
the kind of home.
Sheriff, do I get to check the box in the bottom too?
Yeah,
I signed it.
okay, good.
To check the box?
What?
Check the box at the bottom, I hereby certify I've obtained?
I was told not to bring that, I was,
I don't know either.
normally I would say, but I don't want to.
I didn't look at it that hard.
I assume this is for me to check after I signed it.
You are, yeah.
Yeah, so you are the chair, you are the dog.
Okay,
So the answer to that would be yes.
I check, I do it, you don't do it, okay. Because there's nobody else. There you are, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my pleasure. Aha, now we got some time to do something.
You might as well move up front there.
The meeting initial,
It does.
Might as well,
TV.
yeah, the whole idea, I have it right here. I don't know how we want to set up the room for the caucus, but,
You're gonna go home?
no, I'm not going home.
I mean, how are you gonna kill an hour and a half here before the meeting?
Well, I haven't yet.
He's gonna buy us our lunch, dinner.
No, it's too late for that.
Drinks.
Drinks, yes. Water and bread.
don't know.
I think these are for you.
Those are for me, thank you, sir.
Sign, yes, and there's more coming, I think, sooner.
Yeah, Scott's got a pile over there, I guess. So I was doing half the day today signing and stuff.
Signing checks?
Well, no. Thank yous for checks.
Are you full bore on your,
My new position, my new job, 70 hours a week, full bore enough, or,
yeah, that's a lot.
no, it's 7 days a week, it's, oh, yeah. Yeah,
You shut
it's-
down your building business?
yeah, I hung up my hammer, I mean, I've got some of my own stuff I gotta do and that kind of thing, but I tell you, I still get 2 or 3 calls a week and get to tell people no, and they're like, there's nobody else. I said, I know.
That's 'cause of our-
called my own brother to have him try to help cover me doing some things, and
It's another sign of our bustling economy.
Is that?
well, it's a big sign of academia shutting down the trades, starting off in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna go to college.
Oh, I know.
Killed us. It's gonna take generations to come.
And then they designated the vocational schools as community colleges and got rid of a lot of the
Yeah,
locations.
well, and then you look at the difference between, say the standard colleges and community colleges. I think the funding is somewhere around 94% to 6%. It's way, it's so far out of whack, it's not even funny.
And the professors at the community colleges are grossly underpaid. They don't even make a living wage.
Yeah, I mean, when I was down there, I mean, we did help there as much as we could, but it's like you've got a lot of them at the universities. They teach one course and they make 120, 130, they make twice the state of Maine average, plus the bennies and everything else, and they teach one course.
Oh, it's amazing what these. You know how much, I went to the University of Maine Law School, graduated in 1978. You know how much it cost to go there?
3 chickens and a
$575 a year.
$575 a year.
That's what the whole state tuition was. We went to Oregon, same thing. That's what it cost.
Yeah.
Well, the legislature found out about that. They're gonna make them pay. I think it's 22 now, 22,000. so.
Wow, that's incredible.
Thanks, sir. You're welcome. A little close.
Yeah, it's cheaper than buying a vacuum cleaner.
Back then? Or today, as compared to today?
Compared to today.
Well, especially those law degrees, we probably get more value out of a vacuum cleaner anyway, so.
Well, not necessarily. To your point, though.
Well, we knew that's what he was gonna say.
We got signage in one, I'm getting nervous.
Okay. Yeah, we got to sign, but now we have a,
That's done, that's done. Okay, these are all done.
okay, I think our 5-minute recess is up.
You're the boss.
As soon as Joel's done signing, we'll entertain.
Go ahead, I can
executive
sign and listen at the same time.
Okay.
This is, you missed.
All right. I missed one? You missed one.
Thank you.
Executive session, Title I, Section 405, 6A, Jail Personnel, DOL. Motion to go into.
Make a motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? We are in executive session.